Greg Miller alongside Mary Schindler, who's kind enough to join us here. The Coaches Series rolls on this year. WAC play starts this week. And, Coach, first of all, I know travel's crazy, team in and out. I just appreciate the time being able to sit and talk with you for a bit.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here.
You know, the last time that we chatted was at the beginning of 2021. You were just about to start your first WAC tour. We were in the middle of COVID, playing in the spring. And you got a chance to get in a few WAC matches then and then last fall. First question is just what's your overall impression of WAC volleyball now that you've been to a few places, played through a couple slates?
It's tough, but it's also, navigating the changes within the WAC has been a lot of fun. Teams come, teams go. And it like right now, the dynamic is a really strong volleyball conference, and it's a lot of fun to be a part of.
Part of the rich history of Tarleton volleyball is postseason appearances. When you were a D2 program perennially in the tournament, we'll talk about that in a second, but Tarleton is eligible for postseason play, conference play this year. So what's been your message to your athletes about that now that you have that to try and strive for?
It's trying to balance, right? We talk a lot about maintaining focus on the process, and the wins will take care of themselves. At the same time, last year we were one of the teams that would have gone had we been eligible, and so that was a tough swallow for people on that team and the coaching staff. And so really kind of talking about let's make sure we have that same opportunity again this year.
Would you admit to having all the experience in D2 playoffs and going deep in those tournaments, making the step up, is there a part of you that fights we need to get back to that quick?
I live that daily, all day long. It is tough to swallow when you work so hard to get to a certain place, right? The other part of me says, listen, embrace a challenge, embrace the change, understand it's a new process, and that's part of the fun, right? To get back there and to have those same opportunities.
For folks that maybe are on the SFA side watching this that aren't aware of what I'm talking about, from 2014 to 2019, Tarleton Volleyball was in the NCAA Division II tournament, many times making it to the second round. And if I have my history right, in 2018, all the way to the Elite Eight in the Division II tournament. What, among all of that postseason experience, what do you take from that to prepare for D1 success?
I really still talking a lot of, I would say it's a lot of the same messages, just because it's the same to my team as well, but maintaining that we have to get better every day. It's part of the process. I really feel like there's a certain way to do things. And while we have to, have better players and more dynamic players, we still need to be good at the same things. And culture is a huge part of that. And I think transitioning when you've sold winning, transitioning and trying to get those Division I athletes and create that same culture again is part of what we're working through right now.
Well, let's talk about this. In the year and a half, 2 years that I've been able to watch you and keep track of your club and occasionally chat with you, one characteristic I find of you is you're a very vibrant coach. I think if anybody gets online, almost every picture of Coach Schindler is you smiling. I'm sure there are times when her club would say no.
Right, there's probably some other thoughts behind those smiles, but there's a lot of smiling going on. I do love my job.
Yeah, it's like, hey, yeah, we were here, smile. But yeah, I do think though that you are a vibrant person. I do. Are you a believer in the coach's personality in some way translating to or projecting on their club? And if so, what sort of demeanor, what fraction of your demeanor, or what characteristics of what you would assess your demeanor to be, would you want reflected in your athlete in the way your athletes present themselves?
Well, I 100% believe that they're going to be a reflection of me in some capacity. And we talk a lot about that, in that when people watch us play, I want them to believe that we're tough. If nothing else, that we enjoy being out there and competing every minute of it. It's about, those opportunities, getting to the fifth set. Doesn't have to be easy, but we want to have those opportunities to compete and be in those moments.
Tarleton hadn't have a fifth setter yet, so watch out.
Right.
At least this year they haven't.
No, I would take a 3-set, win. But just really embracing, like, we love it. We don't want to back down from a fight, and that we're willing to be, a team, a disciplined team.
Let's talk now about your 2022 squad, and we're going to talk about additions, but when we talk about changes, we also have to talk about subtractions. There are a lot of names on this list. Kayla Brannon, your setter, Lauren McNeil, who in the Southland we saw at ACU, and then at Tarleton Middle, Lauren Kersey, who tore us apart when we came to Stephenville last year. Yes, she did. And then Carmen Kinsey on the outside, Amber Strange. These are names that were central to Tarleton volleyball last year. But you have some returners, Costas, Maldonado, Halcom, others. What was your message specifically to those returners, knowing that they had so many teammates that went out the door?
Culture, establishing culture with the freshmen and expectations early, that it's a very different dynamic, but there are some things that need to be maintained, and it was their job to help make sure that message was sent, not just from the coaching staff, but from the player leaders as well.
I want to give you a chance to kind of describe how you fleshed out the roster, because with that much talent and just that amount of numbers going out the door, describe for us how you kind of put all the pieces together. You went and you got Sherpick from Houston, you got Garcia Rosa, who we again saw in the Southland, you got all these freshmen. Just go through that process of like, I got to piece this puzzle together.
We knew, it's been a long time coming, right? With a class that size, that there was going to be some turnover, whether we were prepared for it or not, whether we liked it or not. So we had better be prepared. So this year we felt like the freshman class we brought in was one that we had spent time on. I think with COVID plus the transition to Division I, we were really behind. A lot of these schools, rather, whether it be in the WAC or other Division I programs, are years out. And that's just not the way we had done things in Division II. And I was very comfortable waiting a little longer, making sure I had done my homework, and getting the right kids that fit my personality. And now if I want the talent level, I've got to make sure that we are out there early, that we're targeting kids sooner. And so I do feel like with this freshman class, we were able to do that and make sure the fit was there with the personality. So we're really pleased with that freshman group. And as far as transfers, a lot of them had connections to other players on our team, which made me feel really confident in the person I was getting. I mean, obviously, you can watch film and make decisions on talent, but when you know that the person you're getting is also going to fit you and your program, you feel more comfortable to pull the trigger.
A lot has been made, just even in recent weeks, Coach, about the visibility of collegiate volleyball in media. We've had a couple of big-time matches. Last night, I don't know if you checked in on Texas and Kansas, but we had other matches that were nationally broadcasted. When you see that, when you see that visibility increasing, and you think about your history in the game as an alum and player at Tarleton, it got to be a positive vibe for collegiate volleyball now, kind of moving into that, hey, people can watch this on ESPN 1 and 2.
It's fantastic. It's just being a champion for women's sports anyways, but watching collegiate volleyball be on those stages and having the crowds, and the visibility, it's incredible. It's a lot of fun to see.
Now, speaking of crowds, one thing that's similar about Tarleton volleyball, and we will see this because the way the schedule is set up, we'll be there a week from now. We got our two matches with Stephen F. Austin and Tarleton happen early, almost in back-to-back weeks. If you haven't been into Stephenville to see Wisdom Gym, it's stands on one side. It's an intimate gym like we have here at Shelton Gym. It's a loud gym. They can get a lot of students in there. Talk about that environment. You've got to be a fan because obviously we love that here. You'll experience that here tonight. But talk about that intimate feel of being in a gym that doesn't hold thousands but sounds like thousands.
It's my favorite. I think it's one of the best volleyball venues, especially for a university our size. Within the WAC, we've had multiple people, fans from other schools comment on, we love to play there simply because of your fan base and the atmosphere it creates. And there's a home court advantage for sure. It's a lot of fun to get our student body involved, all the different very unique spirit organizations that are just great volleyball fans. Not only do they show up, but they're willing to, be very vocal and they're engaged in the match. So it's fun for our student athletes, that's for sure. And I will say, playing here, it is very similar. it is. They feel like they're on top of you. The whole time I feel like they're cheering for me, so it works out great.
Well, I'll tell you, I felt it when we came there last year at a great 5-setter. Tarleton won when we were there in Stephenville, and where they have the media positioned is in the stands. And so I'm sitting there calling the match on radio, and I have people within 5 or 10 feet of me that are cheering for their club. Last, Coach, you've obviously, with your experience, you've coached against and seen a lot of other quality coaches, historical coaches, but we have a few of those in the WAC, and one of them here at Stephen F. Austin. One milestone you recently eclipsed was that you had 350 career wins at the beginning of this season. Tonight, Debbie Humphreys on the verge, and next season will cross 800 career wins. What's your thought just about legacy of coaches like that and the opportunity to coach against people that have been a part of the game that long?
It's a lot of fun. You want to absorb as much as you can and realize there's a much bigger picture. It's the people that she's been able to impact in the last who knows how many years, is pretty impressive. And if she hadn't, then she wouldn't have those wins, right? She's somebody that obviously tonight we're opponents and we want to do our best against her. But that I would ask if I had questions, situations, whatever the case may be, she's been there, she's done that, she's made the right choices and has a fantastic legacy. So I would ask her.
Mary Schindler, we get 2 battles with the Texans in 2 weeks. They're here tonight, and then Tarleton will head back home. Wisdom Gym, they'll play Rio Grande Valley, who's been really tough so far. You guys got a tough draw here on the early out, and then we'll be over there as we make our way to Stephenville and Abilene. Coach, before the match, really appreciate the chat, your insight. Thank you for being willing to sit down and talk for a few minutes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.